Cape Air is stepping up its services following Island Air's sudden closure. A project to preserve 19 acres of land in Cotuit is finalized. Plus, we talk with Finance Director Mark Milne about steps the town is taking to make budget information available to residents. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, December 23rd, 2015. I'm Sarah Mantle. Cape Air plans to fill the freight void left by the sudden departure of Island Air. Island Air stopped operations on December 11th, and this week, Barnstable Municipal Airport reached an agreement with Cape Air that will continue much-needed freight service to the islands. Cape Air will begin freight service on December 30th. Well, 19 acres of land surrounding Lowell Park and Cotuit are now protected in perpetuity. The Barnstable Land Trust successfully purchased the land for $1.8 million. That, of course, is thanks to donations, Community Preservation Fund dollars, and a gift from the Cotuit Fire District. The Barnstable Land Trust began its fundraising campaign several years ago, concerned about losing the land to development. A permanent conservation restriction now protects the land, which surrounds historic Lowell Park, home of the Cape Cod Baseball League's Cotuit Kettleers. The town's finance department is working to make budget information easily accessible to residents and elected officials. To find out more, Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin talks with Finance Director Mark Milne.
Wanted to talk a little bit about open budget. We've been hinting a little bit about this. Tell me, for viewers who may not be aware, what the open budget software is all about.
Sure. It's an ongoing effort for us to try to make more budget information easily accessible to both internally to department staff as well as citizens and elected officials. So we're working on creating this website which will allow people to go in and look at all of the revenues and expenditures that take place and all of our funds that are annually appropriated by the town council, which includes our general fund and our 8 enterprise funds, as well as our capital program. We have 3 years of capital appropriations that we're putting on this website, which will allow people to go in and look at the capital program and the progress that we're making on each one of those projects.
Absolutely, and I think just to stay on the capital program topic, I think sometimes that can be more of a dynamic number because you look at a project and you think about an expenditure and then things can change whether the price goes up or the price goes down. Is that something that's going to be displayed almost in real time through the open budget software?
Yeah, with the capital program portion, because the numbers don't change as often as the operating budget side. The capital program, we probably will be updating the numbers on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, whereas the operating budget figures, they'll be updated on a weekly basis as we process payroll and vendor payments, and as we collect cash receipts every single week. We'll be updating that on a weekly basis to try to make it as real time as possible. But the capital program doesn't, some of the projects don't kick off immediately, so there's no reason to update it on a weekly basis. But we will be updating those periodically as well. And there's several different various pieces of information that we'll be providing on each capital project. That'll include a description of the project, what phase the project is in, an actual map with the GPS coordinates of where the project's located, a picture, if appropriate, of a completed project or what's going to be replaced or fixed, as well as the funding source for that project. And we will also provide what the appropriation dollar amount was, what's been expended against it, and what the available balance is.
So how much work is this, Mark, for you and your staff to get this up and running? Is it something that's going to be integrated with the current system that we have, or something that people are going to have to kind of enter separately? How does that part work?
Yeah, well, we will have to do some maintaining of this system in order to keep it up to date, but we've tried to make it as automated as possible. So we've written data queries working with our information technology staff who have been fantastic throughout this whole process. They've helped us write data queries which will grab the data out of our Munis financial management system and automatically upload it on a weekly basis, particularly for the operating budget information. So that's all been automated. So there'll be very little that we'll need to do on a regular basis to maintain that. On the capital side, we haven't automated that process yet, and it's going to be more of a manual process to keep that updated because there's so much different information that needs to be provided for that particular area, like photos, for example. We can't automate photos. We have to take the photos and we have to add them to the data set and get them uploaded to the website. But we don't anticipate that to be an extraordinary amount of time for us to maintain this, and it's a much smaller data set than the operating budget, obviously. When we're talking about the operating budget, we're close to 10,000 line items of detail. With the capital program, we have about just under 200 projects, I think. And so it's a lot less onerous to maintain that section, but there will be some manual work involved.
So, Mark, how close are we to launching this? When do we anticipate it'll go live for residents?
Well, we have launched it internally because we want departments to become familiar with how it works. We want to get their feedback for areas where we could tweak it, perhaps make it better. So we have launched it internally. Departments are using it to getting familiar with it. And of course, obviously, we want them to be familiar with it before we go live. And so the plan is to have a public demonstration of this at the joint meeting with the school committee and the town council on January 21st. And when we present it to them, that's when we'll go live as well. So January 21st is our target date to get this out to the public.
Great, and I will say that you gave me the opportunity to take a look at it, and it is I found it really easy to navigate and really interesting. All of the different things that you can kind of dive into and get a closer look at. You can kind of get that 10,000-foot view, and then really get real close and see. Obviously not individual line items, but pretty close to that as to how where the money is going.
Yeah, on the operating budget, you can actually get right on down to the individual line items for expenditures and revenues, and you can see what all the individual expenditure accounts in every single operation, but you don't get the transactions like vendor payments. How much was XYZ vendor paid, and for this, what makes up that $2,500 expenditure on that line item. It could be 100 transactions involved and totaling that $2,500. You won't get that information. That's a completely separate program that involves a whole different set of data queries that we would have to do in a whole different software package. This is designed to give everybody at least the line item detail of all expenditures and revenues and operating budgets, as well as quite a bit of detail on the capital program. So like you said, you can get the 10,000-foot look, or you can actually get right down to the line item detail in the operating budget.
Absolutely. So, as various departments take a look at this, are there any particular tweaks that you've seen that you've had to make as you get ready for the launch later in January?
They've made a few suggestions for us, and one of the things we're working on now is building a library of pictures that we want to get uploaded, because we think the pictures really say, a picture says 1,000 words, especially on a completed project. So we're trying to create an inventory of those, as well as an inventory of some of the existing projects that are to be improved, like the fish runs we have over on the western side of town. There's money appropriated for those. Well, why do we need to fix those? And we're trying to get pictures that show what the problem is. So things like that, and it has offered us an opportunity to actually look at how our chart of accounts in Munis is structured, so that we've been able to make it more streamlined, because when you feed it into a system like this, it creates a different visual, and we have been able to streamline that chart of accounts as a result of having these two systems speak to one another.
We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning. That show airs weekdays at 7 a.m. Tomorrow we will have a Christmas Eve special featuring a few of our favorite segments from the year, a visit from Santa Claus, plus we'll have holiday greetings from Town of Barnstable staff. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.